Dimmable 4-in-1 sticks for only $7.99.
All right, I guess that means it's time to get to the stream when you hear the ads. Oh yeah. Welcome to another stream, everybody. Yeah, as you see the topic, you know, I want to touch base on this topic. This is a big debate on the internet. I bet you got heated arguments in Reddit posts. By the way, try to stay from Reddit because that's a toxic website, Reddit. A lot of people on Reddit, they got toxic energy. But yeah, this is just a big talking point, and debate millennials versus Gen Z. Is like, it seems like Gen Z is obsessed with us millennials. You know, we hold two different generations. We two different generations, but we have the same struggle. We in this corrupt system. We know times is hard is affecting all generations, but for some strange reasons, you got some millennials coming on social media trying to school, thinking they could come school millennials how to run on the internet, how to operate on the internet. Social media etiquette, they call it. Social media etiquette. Huh. Well, newsflash. Gen Z, us millennials, the internet was invented. Most of your popular social media outlets was invented by millennials, like MySpace. Y'all don't know nothing about the MySpace era. We witnessed the beginning stage of Facebook. See what's different from us. We witnessed the internet in the infantile state. Just because y'all was born in a full-fledged internet, that doesn't give y'all the right to try to school us on how to operate on the internet. When the majority of y'all can't even write in cursive. Yes, our generation was taught how to sign our names in cursive. Y'all type y'all names, and that's the reason why when you go fill out certain information, you got to sign digitally now, and that's awkward. I don't like signing with a digital pen. I'd rather sign a paper in cursive with a pen. I don't like that digital signing thing. They never did. It's awkward. But yeah, I just want to touch base. I'm gonna go look for that video and react to it. You know, it was a content creator. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I probably can't find it. They got so many content. Oh man, let me see. That's not it. Y'all just bear with it. But yeah, I hope all is well with y'all that's watching. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, there we go. It's called Gen Z Lady Came for Millennials. They clap back. That's right. You don't talk crap about us millennials because we're going to band together. That's one thing about us millennials. You call us out, we're going to band together. Yeah. Let me play it.
I'm here.
Y'all excuse the ads.
For 5% equity in my company. Gerald,
let's skip it. Dad? Or let me start from the beginning. Yes, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just play it on my phone and I'm gonna commentate to it. Because YouTube could be funny, when you share certain videos, and then sometimes StreamYard be acting up. So I'm gonna just stream it I'm gonna play this video on my phone and I'm gonna stop it and I'm gonna insert my 2 cents into it. You know how I do. But yeah, let me start at the beginning.
So this lady decided to start a millennial boot camp teaching millennials social media etiquette. Now, I couldn't find the original video because she has since privated her account because I guess she didn't, really think that millennials were going to respond. Let me share with you clips from, her actual video, original video, because I couldn't find the original video. The page is now private. Okay, so yeah, this is what I found. Take a look.
Currently, my favorite show to watch right now is the Millennials respond to Janelle's video about millennials needing a social media bootcamp. Baby, the millennials are reading Gen Z for filth, and I have not missed one video.
Okay, I think it's time somebody started the series called Millennial Bootcamp, where I, a Gen Z, tell you what we're doing, what we're not doing, social media etiquette. If you want to leave a hate comment, don't with Instagram fonts.
Well, you little child, how dare you trying to say a millennial boot camp? You little child. You gonna think you could school us millennials how to run on the internet, how to operate the internet? Child, you may be in your early 20s, Gen Z. I don't care. When we was learning how to use the internet, you didn't exist. You was a single cell in your daddy's loins. You wasn't even thought of. See, like the old school would say, you wasn't even thought of, child. How dare you think you could school us 80s and 90s babies how to operate on the internet? A millennial boot camp. How ridiculous that sounds, y'all. A millennial boot camp for social media etiquette. Huh. We was taught to socialize in real time, us generation. We the last generation that played outside, that probably played tackle football, hide and seek, rode bicycles, climb trees, all that good stuff outside in the outdoor nature. Caught lizards. We used to catch lizards, like them little green lizards and all that. They call them anole lizards. Them little green lizards. Sometimes they change brown depending on the temperature. But yeah, we used to do all that. We used to scrape our knees. How many Gen Z are known to scrape their knees and get back up and play? They probably cried and made a whole vlog about it while scraping their knee, gave them anxiety and stuff. You know what they told us when we fell down? They told us to get back up, toughen up. That's what they told us coming up. Stop crying, toughen up. And me personally, when I got a scrape or bruise, I kept picking at my scab. They used to have to tell me to stop picking at the scab. I used to pick at my scab till I don't feel the pain no more. But let's continue the video.
These are absolute no's. We're also not saying slay in real ways anymore. We're saying it in sarcastic ways. The new slay is literally just this. Nod your head, silence, because I guess this means ate in sign language. So you're saying like, yes, you ate that. I'm dead, I'm deceased, I'm sick, I'm screaming, I'm throwing up, all good things. Your friend posts a picture on Instagram, you comment, I'm sick, I'm deceased. That basically means that you look amazing.
I always say this, before you press send on social media, sometimes you need to consult with a few of your friends first and ask them, do you think this will get me to private my account? Do you think this is going to get people coming for me? And when they say yes, listen, okay? But if you don't care and it's not a big deal, then please go ahead off skin. But be prepared. But be prepared for the responses because, yeah, you decide to take an action. Now people are reacting to your action. This is what the social media is all about. That's the first rule of social media. Yeah, millennials responded, and I don't think she was prepared for the responses. Okay. Yeah. So without wasting your time, let's get into it.
They showed this millennial woman, boy, she was ready to fight. She was gearing herself up. She said, I want to fight. She don't know that yeah, she was ready to square up because of that video.
It really is good to show up because that girl really came on here and said a millennial boot camp to teach us social media etiquette, to teach us how to use social media. I'm not even going to talk about how pathetic that sounds.
Right.
But also, do you guys remember when one of them got on here and was like, oh, what if we had one single phone in the house, but like it's shared amongst everyone? A house phone, a landline.
Mm-hmm.
We already had that.
Yep.
Have you guys seen this video of the Gen Z trying to tell millennials, like we need a boot camp and they're gonna let us know what we need to be doing? Teach her video, but she deleted that because millennials said, "What? What are you talking to, honey? If one thing millennials can do is unite. We're trauma bonded.
You're
Nobody
damn
is
right.
more united than millennials. We're the only ones that can tell crap about ourselves.
That's right.
Wanting to teach us.
That's right. Yep, she telling the truth. And this lady on this clip said, we the only ones to talk crap about each other, millennials, and criticize. You know, I'll be quick to say call out certain flaws about the millennials, you know. But yeah, we are a unique generation. And I think that's why Gen Z obsessed with us. And some of them, not all, but the majority of them, they kind of got a secret jealousy towards us millennials, you know, because we are known for we are considered to be the most spoiled generation, and I stand on that. We was kind of spoiled, you know. You know, most millennials had parents, boomer parents that work hard, because I really can't kick against the boomers like that because I was raised around some cool boomers. They gave me some good knowledge, and I used to connect with boomers. I used to have conversation. You know, I could have a conversation with a boomer or Gen X. You know, I had Gen X aunts and uncles. You know, and some boomer aunts and uncles. So I consider myself like I could consider I have the characteristics of a boomer, a Gen Xer, and a millennial. Those three. I consider myself I told that to my cousin the other day. I consider myself a generational chimera, like a chimera. You know, like in a mythical creature, the chimera that's a combination of three creatures. Well, that's how I feel sometimes when it comes to this generational stuff. I feel like I got like traits of a boomer, Gen X, and millennial, but I'm a millennial by heart, by nature, I'm a millennial. But yeah, Gen Z, man, y'all need to stop. You know, she took them videos down. She tried to cancel her channel. It was this millennial young lady. You see, that's what they don't understand. You see, that's what Gen Z don't understand about the internet. You got to be careful when you're making these TikTok reels because she made the mistake of trying to say something about a millennial boot camp, and I know her comment section probably was flooded with angry millennials. They probably flame basted her ass, rightfully so. They probably took her ass to the volcano, flamed her like a dragon, you know, a millennial boot camp, how to use social media. Huh, like I said, we was learning. Y'all don't even know how to write in cursive. Y'all can't even sign your own name on a government document, on a piece of paper. We was taught cursive in elementary school, you know?
What exactly? Because your fashion is recycled from us. Your social media, even your reality TV is trying to do what we millennials already did. Even you don't even have a flavor play. We were keeping up with the Kardashians before they were famous. We grew up with Britney, with Christina. What exactly do you think you're gonna teach us? We had house parties where we actually partied. Not just took pictures of the outfits, we were actually partying. So anyways, I know that they've proven that millennial is the best generation there is. So yeah, there's that. I hope you're enjoying boot camp.
I agree. I agree. Millennials, they did party, especially like in the 90s, like the late 90s when the millennials was becoming of age, like when they was becoming teenagers and young adults. Yeah, millennials did turn up in the club. They did, you know. Now, me personally, I wasn't much of a clubber, you know, but you had buffoonery going on in the nightclubs. But yeah, millennials, whether they went to a family get together, a party, a house party, or even they go to club, they turned up. Millennials did turn up, especially like in the early 2000s, during the crunk era. When the crunk era came out, yeah, millennials, they turned the hell up in the crunk era. Like when Lil Jon, Bone Crusher, the Yang Yang Twins, and all them guys came out. Them Southern rappers, even in the '90s, Dr. Dre. You had the East Coast rappers. I mean, millennials turned up. We had the awesome R&B music back in the '90s. You see, the music was, even though you had the buffoonery with the music, but they wasn't singing about toxicity like what you hear today. They was singing about being in love, the R&B music, you know. So you need to, all y'all Gen Z, you need to thank the musicians in the '90s because some of y'all was born to that music. Some of y'all was probably, y'all parents made y'all through that music. The term baby making music, just like us millennials was conceived through some of that old school music from the '70s and '80s. I'm just saying, because the stuff y'all got to experience today, and I feel sorry for y'all. I came across a few youngsters before. They say they wish they was born in my era, like in the '80s and '90s. Because I told that to one of the older person. I was like, I couldn't be born in this era, in this new era. That's why I'm proud to be born in the era I was born in. All praises to the Most High, because this is a weird era, And like I said, we all have our issues. All generations got their flaws and issues, but yeah, she just embarrassed herself. This young lady gonna think she could get on the internet and is trying to start a millennial boot camp. That's laughable. It is laughable. And she unlocked. She like they say, don't poke the bear. She woke up a sleeping giant because millennials was coming for her. She had probably had to remove the video or remove the channel on TikTok.
If did nobody tell you, I'm sure you know by now, one thing about millennials, we are the king and queens of petty. So there's that. Maddie.
Okay, millennials need a boot camp, eh? Okay, what does 3:30 look like on an analog clock?
This is
An ad. They go ad. What's up, Chris G?
Order that looks.
What does 3:30 look like on an analog clock?
Tell them, sister.
Okay. If the long hand is on.
Yep, they don't even know what an analog clock look like. Gen Z, they can't even. You know what's funny? Gen Z probably can't even tell time on a regular clock, an analog clock. They got these because we didn't had no iWatches or no smart watches. We didn't had smartphones. We didn't even had like when. And that's another thing about us millennials. We experienced the infantile state of these so-called technology, these phones. We didn't have tablets. We had MP3 players. We had the Walkmans. We had CD players. That's one thing about in the '90s. We had the Sony Walkmans, the cassette tapes, the CD players, VCRs. We didn't have all this instant access to media like Gen Z have. But they want to say the millennials are the spoiled generation. No, y'all the instant gratification generation, Gen Z, because millennials, we appreciate the media we had because we didn't have easy access to certain things. Like, like when we was getting into anime, we had to go actually buy episodes of Dragon Ball Z, pay the good money too for what, 3-4 episodes on a VHS tape at Suncoast or FYE. Man, I wish my cousin was here on this stream with me because he'll tell you. He'll tell you straight up what we had to deal with. But that made us appreciate the stuff we grew up in, the era that we grew up in. Because Gen Z, y'all got it made. Y'all too small. They want to say us millennials, we the small generation. Y'all too small because y'all can miss a whole season of y'all favorite TV show and binge watch it like it's nothing. Y'all could watch anything y'all want at the tip of y'all fingers. We couldn't do that as millennials. If we miss an episode of a favorite TV show, we had to hope and pray they rerun that whole entire season. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me if I'm lying. It's the truth. I'm not lying. If you miss a favorite cartoon, like episode of your favorite Saturday morning cartoon, you was done for. You was done for. You was like, oh man. And then if you didn't have the internet, you had to go to school and listen to your friends tell a recap of the episode. Same thing with wrestling. If you miss an episode of Monday Night Raw or WCW Nitro, that's what we used to do in middle school. Like during the morning before we would go to our first class in middle school, we used to huddle around, in the hallway, talk about the episodes of Monday Night Raw or WCW Nitro. before the bell ring to go to our classes. Nah, Gen Z don't even do that probably in school. All they do is just scroll through the phone, scroll through their smartphones to see the recap of their favorite episodes and stuff. You know, we didn't have all that. We didn't have no smart watches. We had analog watches. You know, yeah, we probably had digital watches, but we had analog clocks. Let me continue this video. But yeah, they going in. The millennials, they going in on this video.
3 and the shorthand is on 8. What time is that? Okay. What's your mother's phone number? And don't go in your contacts to tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. Type it out of your head right now. What's your mother's phone number? As a matter of fact, give me 3 of your family members' phone numbers from your head right now.
That's true.
Okay. 3 addresses of people that you're familiar with. Where if
Yep.
you should get kidnapped
Man, this
right
sister
now,
on
you
point.
can say, take me here. City, state, street number, city, state, zip code, go.
Yeah, she on point on this clip. Because she tell the truth. That's one thing in school. We had to memorize at least 3 phone numbers. We had to memorize our home number, our grandparents' number, a relative or cousin. We had to memorize address. They taught us all that in elementary school. They taught us addresses. They taught us about phone numbers. We had to memorize that by heart. You know, most people today can't even memorize their home phone number. You know, some people don't even memorize their own cell phone and they gotta go in their contacts. But yeah, we didn't have the luxury of having a contact list on a smart. We had to write all that down on a piece of paper. Like we had to write down people's phone numbers on a piece of paper, addresses. That's what they had the address log books for. You see, a lot of Gen Z, they don't even know nothing about a log book, an address log book, a phone log book, because they could put all that in their contacts list on a smartphone or iPhone. But they want us trying to school millennials on social media etiquette. When we didn't have social media, we didn't even had that when we was children. When millennials was children, we didn't even dream of something like a social media because we went outside and socialized. Even though, you know, you still had the introverts and the extroverts and all that. You know, I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert by nature. I'm an introvert. You know, and yeah, even though I was an introvert, I still socialized. You know, like if you went to a family event or you had to socialize. You know, but we didn't had all these devices and all this technology. We wasn't even thinking about stuff like that. We just appreciate the things that they gave us, you know, and that we had to experience.
Call your doctor to make an appointment without having a panic attack. Can you call your doctor to make an appointment without pissing your pants?
Oh, she went in. She said, "Can you call your doctor without pissing your pants?" Damn, is that bad for Gen Z? Y'all got that much anxiety? Y'all can't even make y'all own doctor's appointment? Wow, some of y'all so nervous to call the doctor to make an appointment. She really went in. She going in on them.
Until you don't turn and there is no Uber, you don't have a car. How you tell you
God dog, I can't stand these ads on YouTube, man. I tell you, stupid ads.
You know by now. If you get kidnapped right now, you can say, take me here. City, state, street number, city, state, zip code, go. Do you even have access to your MyChart? Call your doctor to make an appointment without having a panic attack. Can you call your doctor to make an appointment without pissing your pants? You need to get to an interview downtown and there is no Uber, you don't have a car. How you get in there? How you get in there? You know how to fill out a W-2. Because I feel like y'all really just playing for all.
We invented emojis, but we need punctuation. There's an old millennial adage from the playground. If someone asked you if they could play, you would have to say, "It's not my game, it's hers, you have to ask her." If someone owned the game, we own this game. Do you need to ask us before you change stuff and make rules? You require a response, PTB. Do you know an absolute coochie horror was to secure a Hotmail email address with my actual name and year of birth in it? A time when other mugs were getting like 62, 69, not me, I was securing the domain for the future, locking that shit down because we all collectively, millennials and elders, have the same middle name, which is either Jane, Nicole, or Jennifer. And I have that Hotmail, and like I have that, and I still use that now. I'm proud. I'm so proud that I put my name on it, which moment, because that was a wonderful thing about being around the actual invention and advent of the internet. There's a text back message, put PTV on it. Riddle me this question. Do you know what ASL means? We're not silver servers. You can't boomer us. I was sat in the living room, like you had to get the wire like this, and you had to plug it in. Like, so I could talk to my boyfriend in Wisconsin, who I believed to be 15 years of age, although looking back now, there is some doubt around that. There is a Nelson Mandela effect potentially about how old he actually was. But then if my mum wanted to go and sit on the porch and have a silk cut, once she'd got dinner started and like brown the onions and soak in the potatoes, she'd get a Pinot Grigio and go and sit and talk to her sister on the porch. So that meant I had to leave the internet. Like I couldn't stay there. I had to say goodbye to my boyfriend, probably 55, maybe not even in Wisconsin. And like I had to walk to the shop to get a top up credit. I walked for miles to go to the only cash machine.
Okay, you just telling another life story. We didn't ask for your life story, ma'am. Just let me fast forward this. Just
But you could not use the household and the internet at the same time. Do you remember that? Do you remember dial-up? Do you remember the screeching sound of dial-up? Do you remember that?
oh yeah, I remember dial-up. Now this sister on point too. She talking about dial-up. Yeah, dial-up internet, that was torturous. If you use dial-up internet back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I hated dial-up because it tie up your whole landline. Oh yeah, I used to hate that, you know. So this was a blessing when Wi-Fi came out, because dial-up internet, man, I couldn't stand dial-up internet. It'll tie up your whole phone, especially when you were surfing the web and then somebody trying to call you home. Yeah, see, back then, our parents used to have us a limit. Like, we only could have been on like the internet for like maybe an hour or two, because the phone, it would tie up the phone, that dial-up internet. But I want to say, like, I think in the 2010s, that's when Wi-Fi came on the scene. I think, y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't miss dial-up internet for nothing. Oh yeah, that was torturous. See, Gen Z, y'all don't know nothing about dial-up internet. If y'all was actually experience that, y'all would be like, oh, this is cringe. Y'all like to say that word. This is cringe. Y'all think everything is cringe.
Okay. Do you remember when YouTube was actually very uncensored?
Mm-hmm.
And you could actually see anything and everything.
Yep, I remember YouTube back in the day.
And it didn't have these guidelines like it does now. You could literally watch some wild ass shit on YouTube. Do you remember that? No? Okay. Blake, what are you talking about? Dan. She said, dead, deceased. Yeah, we say that, girl. People saying dead for the longest time. I'm dead. That's good to say. It's not Gen Z. It's not Gen Z. And then she's like, we don't say slay anymore as a compliment. Now we do this. Because apparently this means 8 in sign language, so this means you 8. Girl, what the fuck did you just say? First of all, this is not Gen Z. It came from ballroom. That came from ballroom. And not the fancy, real elegant ballroom LGBT. Ballroom. What do you mean? Because this means 8 in sign language. Don't piss me off. Don't piss me off. Talking about these are the things that we say, these are our slang. Do you not realize that a lot of slang, a lot of Gen Z slang is borrowed AAP? A lot of Gen Z slang is borrowed AAP or recycled shit that millennials would say.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Dead eyes. You guys not realize that? There's absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. That Gen Z can tell a millennial about the internet.
Facts.
Or about social media.
Mm-hmm.
We were there, bro. We were there.
Tell it.
I was born before Google.
Tell it.
Shut up.
Tell it.
Wait. Do you also remember that when you want to like download music on your MP3 player? Your MP3 player? Not your Walkman. I don't even think you know what Walkman is.
No, they don't.
Anyway, but on your MP3 player, right? And you had to go on websites that could literally crash your whole computer.
Yeah, I remember that. That was torturous. Like Kazaa, you had LimeWire, you had Kazaa. Yeah, my brother, he used to be on Kazaa a lot. Man, my brother used to stay downloading music on there. Yep. LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster. They had all them viruses. They could have had viruses on your computer. Yeah.
Do you remember that? No? Okay.
Man, I remember nights sneaking to the living room to go on the computer while my parents were sleeping. Yeah, me and my brother we used to sometimes I used to go on the computer while everybody was sleeping. I'll go sneak on the computer, just to go, look at Dragon Ball Z information, anime information, and just to browse the internet. And sometimes my dad will wake up, he'd be like, "You on that computer, boy? Look, turn that computer off." Sometimes he'll say, "All right, stay on that for another 30 minutes." Oh yeah. That's when we had just one computer in the house. That's when we had dollar. We had it was a desktop, the PC, a desktop, and you had the dial-up internet. That's why I say so. When Wi-Fi came on the scene, that was a game changer. That's when we had laptops, and that's when I started getting laptops and tablets. That's why I say Gen Z, they don't know the torture of dial-up or having one computer in the house, or even having one TV. Some people grew up with one TV in the house. A lot of Gen Xers. Now I could throw that ball to a lot of Gen Xers. Most Gen Xers, they grew up with one TV in the house, and whoever was playing on that TV, they had to watch that. They couldn't turn that channel. Oh no, they turned that channel. Their parents would probably, whip them or slap the hell out of them. Oh yeah, same thing when we was growing up as millennials. We couldn't just go to nobody's house and make ourselves at home. We had to be respectful. We had to carry ourselves with respect, greet the owners of the house, like if you go to your uncle or aunt's house, you had to greet everybody. You couldn't just go walk and don't speak to nobody. They'll correct you. They'll be like, "Hey, you just said you." Yeah, they'll be like, "Hey, you can't talk." They'll correct you in a heartbeat. She Gen Z, we ain't had no millennial stare. Like they got the so-called Gen Z stare. Like if you're going to a restaurant or if you're going to make groceries and a cashier is a Gen Z person, they give you the Gen Z stare. We didn't have no millennial stare. We did. If we'd have did something like that as children, as millennials, man, they'll slap our mouth to the other side. Man, they'll tell us, "Fix your face, boy. Fix your face, girl. Or I'll give you something. I'll give you something to pout about." Oh yeah, we didn't have no damn millennial stare like the so-called Gen Z stare. We couldn't afford to do that. She, yeah, slap us into next week. Shucks, the hell they talking about?
And last but not least, would you remember Picnic? Do you remember Picnic? You ever used Picnic before to edit your photos? Do you remember this? No? Oh, okay.
I think it's time somebody started this series called Millennial Boot Camp, where I, a Gen Z, tell you.
You can't tell me nothing.
Couldn't handle how many tank tops we used to wear on top of each other. Our scarves went infinity. Limited to, the limit did not exist. How much we went to that store.
Exactly. We dressed. Millennial fashion was way better than Gen Z fashion. We had baggy pants. We didn't have no skinny jeans. Back in the 90s, only skaters wore skinny jeans. If you wore like skinny jeans, you either was a skater or you was a punk rocker, you was a rock star, you was into rock, a goth or something. But like on the urban scene, like in an urban scene, or even in normal millennials, we had the baggy jeans. I miss baggy jeans. I rather baggy jeans. We had, the designer t-shirts, popular shows. And another thing, I'm always get on Gen Z about this. Y'all wearing our stuff. Like if I see a young person in their teens and 20s wearing a Ninja Turtle t-shirt or a Power Ranger t-shirt or any type of, even a Tupac t-shirt. You got a lot of Gen Zs wearing Tupac t-shirts and they don't even know who Tupac is. They don't even own a Tupac album. They probably heard his music. They just want to wear a Tupac or Biggie shirt just to look cool. Maybe because they millennial parents. Now, some Gen Z got millennial parents. I find it ironic how you got some Gen Z that want to down talk millennials, but some of y'all parents are millennials or Gen Xers. I think most millennials and Gen X, they gave birth to the Gen Z, and some millennials, they having children late. Some millennials having children in the 40s, like if it's a millennial man in his mid to early, because you see us guys, we take care of ourselves. We can have a child, we carry life all our life. We carry life in our loins, even though we need women to bring forth the life too. But yeah, you got some millennial guys having their first child at 45 or 43 and 44. Their wife or girlfriend might be, in their late 20s or 30s, but yeah. Yep. So, and I think a reason why a lot of millennials, some gonna have their children late because of financial situation. They want to get their stuff together, you know. But yeah, but we already know the majority of millennials, you know, they're not gonna have families or be homeowners because of what's going on in society, you know, and the dating market and all that shit, and how society is. But yeah, I find it crazy how you have this Gen Z lady, young lady, trying to school millennials about the internet when we grew up in an infantile state of the internet. You know, it's crazy. They can't tell us jack shit about the internet. The nerve of these youngsters. And not all of them, because they got some cool Gen Z out there, you know. You know, like I said, I could have a conversation with a Gen Z, a boomer, a Gen X, or a millennial, you know. It's how you present yourself. It's the mentality a person have. You know, it's the mentality. If you gotta cause I chop it up with a boomer, an elder every once in a while. Like, you know, I'm gonna just say Mr. R. I'm not gonna say his name on him, just call him Mr. R. His name start with an R, so I'm gonna call him Mr. R. And me and Mr. R, we cool. You know, I'm a millennial, he a boomer, you know, he grew up in you know, he grew up in he fought in Vietnam, you know, he a veteran, he a military veteran, you know. And I used to chop it up with him every time at my old job. And he used to tell me, say, man, you wise for your age. He said, I like talking with people with sense. And that's what he always told me. And I'm the same way. If you got common sense, if you got a good head on your shoulder, man, I'll talk with you. I'll chop it up with you. You know, but if you're on that buffoonery, that ignorant buffoonery stuff, man, I gotta go. I gotta go. Straight up. But yeah, it's all about the mentality at the end of the day. Why do people put generations against each other? It's so stupid. I don't know. It got to be something with the powers that be, you know, because the way I look at it is we all going through it and we all suffering because the powers that be don't give a damn what generation you represent. You still got to pay taxes. You know, we still getting our energy harvest in this draconian system. You know, all our energy is being harvested through the negativity in this draconian system that is ran by low vibrational beings, you know, that are servants of these wicked principalities. People need to realize that. But I'm gonna go ahead and continue this video.
Or so much body glitter, we blind your ass. I use so much cucumber melon body spray. I got a garden down there now. Twisted my damn ankle on platform sandals. Whale tail for days. Fleece from Old Navy, so performative. It was like a Broadway show. We were daring. We were weird. We did animal print all over this bitch. Shut up.
Millennial boot camp, babe. You can't even read. How about you asking to party what a party's like? You know, it's really funny. I want to watch you go to Sephora and get shade matched all on your own. And I want you to exchange pleasantries with that person who might as well be another Gen Z person. And see how that goes. Two bitches looking at each other going, not even exactly. You don't know what's going on. Millennial boot camp, but the show ain't fucking. You guys don't drink and you don't fuck. Just because you like trans people doesn't mean you're not conservative, Caitlyn Jenner. You guys are Puritans with iPhones.
He said, you guys are Puritans with iPhones. Damn. You know, now this guy, you know, he part of the community, you know, the alphabet community. You even got millennials of the alphabet community getting on Gen Z. You know it's that bad. He said, y'all Puritans with smartphones. Dang, he said, y'all don't drink, y'all don't screw. Oh, man.
Post on Instagram, you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of HTML code. Do you even know what the fucking Valencia filter is? Bitch, spell Valencia. Spell bootcamp. Write a short story using both concepts. Get creative. I don't know. Perhaps your creativity is more suited to.
Hey, they don't know nothing about that math. They don't. I bet you Gen Z, they get terrified of word problems because going back in the school days, I looked at word problems like a nemesis, like an arch nemesis. I used to hate word problems in math. So you can imagine how Gen Z react to word problems. They probably start having a panic attack at word problems when it comes to math. Or better yet, when they used to make us write the spelling words. Man, I'll never forget. I think we was in the 5th grade. Yeah, 5th grade. I'm recalling. I never forget. Yeah, we was in the 5th grade. I went to Park Elementary. Park Elementary, where Eagles there. That was their slogan, where Eagles there. And we had a 5th grade teacher. She was cool, you know, but the class made her upset One day they pissed her off so bad, we had to write the spelling words 100 times each. It was 20 spelling words. Because, we had spelling, back in elementary, we used to have the spelling tests. Man, we pissed her off. It wasn't me. It was, it was the rowdy kids. You always have that group of bad children that spoil it for the bunch. Like they say, the good got to suffer for the bad. But yeah, we pissed that teacher off. Man, she said, I want y'all to write all the spelling words 100 times each. I'll never forget that, man. I was up probably till almost 10, 11 o'clock at night, writing them damn spelling words 100 times each. Man, I was ticked off, man. That was some bull crap. Like I say, we had to deal with a lot of bullshit in school as millennials. They don't understand. That's why most millennials that's aware in what's going on in the world, we call it the public food system. A lot of millennials, if you tell them about their experience in the public food system, man, they be like, man, we was glad to get out there. When we got our high school diplomas, we treated that shit like we was getting out of prison. Like we just did a 12-year prison bid. We didn't look back. And that's why you got the school to prison pipeline, because the public food system, it felt like you was in prison. It felt like you was locked up for 8 hours a day. You had to go to lunch when they tell you to go to lunch. You had to raise your hand if you had to go to the bathroom and all that. You couldn't just get up and go to the bathroom. You had to raise your hand and ask the teacher to go use the restroom. Sometime the teacher have an attitude, be like, no, wait till after I finish the lesson and all that. Like I said, we had to deal with so much bullshit as millennials in the public food system. I don't know how the school experience was for millennials. Everything is a computer now. Y'all probably don't even have notebooks no more. Y'all probably got to do everything on all your assignments on laptops and tablets now. Especially for the children today, like Gen Alpha, they probably got tablets in the classroom. We didn't have that luxury. We had to get loose leaf paper. We had to get notebooks. We had to get the tablets and all that, pencils and pens. We ain't had all that digital stuff. We had to do everything on physical paper and physical, physical things, hands-on lessons. I bet you if Gen Z had to dissect a frog in biology, they'd probably, oh, this is cringe. I'm not killing a frog. They're probably trying to lecture the biology teacher about animal cruelty and all that. I'm just saying, we couldn't do that. If we tried to do that, they'd be like, you either gonna die, you're either gonna dissect that frog or you're gonna get an F. Real talk. We had to dissect frogs in 7th grade in biology. It was an experience. I had to dissect a frog. We had to do a bug collection. Now, I didn't do that. I wasn't going out there and collect no damn bugs. I'll be honest to tell you that I didn't do it. I didn't go out there. We had to do like a bug collection, and we had to do a report on bugs. I think I just did the report part on it, but the collection, I'm like, man, I ain't going hunt for no damn bugs. Hell no, I don't, especially flying insects. I don't play around with flying insects. Shucks. Heck no. Better call Shino from Naruto. He good with bugs. The ninja Shino from the Naruto universe. But anyway, let me continue this video.
Watching AI fruit videos of Love Island or some shit called a skibbity toilet.
Yeah, skibbity toilet. Yeah, that's retarded. I couldn't, man. Like if I had children, I caught my children watching skibbity toilet, whatever they call that bullshit, skibbity toilet, I'll be like, turn that shit off, man. That's an abomination. That's just brain rot. And that's why I feel sorry for Gen Alpha, the younger generation, like the children, that's under 12, like the children that's under 12 years old and a baby's being born, they being introduced into brain rot. So what they gonna call them, the brain rot generation? That's what they gonna call Gen Alpha and Gen Beta or whatever the generations they gonna call after Gen Z. They gonna call them the brain rot generation because that's all they introducing these children to is brain rot. Brain rot content, and that's not good. And that's what the powers that be want. They want society minds to be full of brain rot so they don't question the status quo. They don't question the powers that be. That's what they want. They want to dumb down society. They've been doing this for years. It just has nothing to do with Gen Z or Gen Alpha. They've been dumbing people down. They even push distractions in the boomer era. All generations had distractions. They want to keep society dumbed down because they know if people was to question the status quo and to wake up, they will want answers. And they can't have that. They can't have that. The powers that be.
not pee your pants. Maybe we'll talk. I understand that God or the universe smited us all with the COVID-19 pandemic, but I think it's about time that you bitches go out and seek the skills that were robbed of you because of that time. Because I am consistently seeing an entire group, an entire generation of people struggle with one of the most basic and important skills a human being can ever have, which is the skill of having casual interpersonal relationships and perhaps even close interpersonal relationships. If you can't hold water cooler talk, how are you going to drink water? Just alone on the internet forever? That's fucking sad. And here's the thing, I have a lot of Gen Z friends because I'm in the queer community here in Chicago. And, you know, to be fair, if I'm talking to a 20-year-old for more than, I don't know, 10 minutes, I do have to step outside and get some air.
Yo guys, so I bought 2 knockoff versions of my own Crusader design off AliExpress. Yep.
Yeah. And that is truly no shade. I am 32 and there is like a chasm of experience there. But I don't look down on y'all. Y'all look down on us. That's the really, really hard thing about going through very collective trauma. You are wanting to shape and build a world to cater to you because you don't want us to be cringe or you don't want to be cringe. Baby, you're beyond cringe. Your cringe is beyond comprehension. You're laughing at shit you don't even know about.
Facts.
Because looking at your real lives is much too scary. You're me doing my taxes, and guess what? I got those bitches done at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, and I still goon for 2 other hours because I'm a real ass bitch. That's why.
Okay, we didn't have to know that, dude. We didn't have to know that. And that's another thing. Gen Z came up with a crazy slang for called gooning. Now y'all don't know gooning. That just means, you know, jaying off. If you know, you know. They come up with the term called gooning. You know, now a few years ago, at least 10 years ago, the term goon mean was somebody was in the streets, you know, a goon, a gangster, you know. Now they replace goons with YNs. And they took the term gooning or goon as an act of doing lewd activity on the internet, going to certain sites and doing lewd activity, you know, waxing a carrot, spanking a chicken, you know, choking a chicken, you know, but they call it gooning. That's a Gen Z thing. We didn't come over that term because you see, back in the day, they say, oh man, you know, Jay, you know, so and so Jay off, and you know, choking a chicken, you know, rubbing one out. We didn't that gooning that because back in the day, a goon was like a henchman. You know, like when we heard the term goon, like when we watched certain cartoons, oh, the villain had his goons, you know, meaning a henchman. Now, 2026, the term goon means the act of, you know, doing lewd activity, you know. That's crazy. And I see how they play on words like that. It's like every couple of years they changing the words around. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy out there. It's crazy.
You do roll call without shitting out of your ass? I don't think. It's gonna be a bunch of 40 and 30-year-olds looking at you up and down. What you gotta say, bitch? Absolutely fucking nothing. Because everything you're wearing, everything you're recycling, everything you discover, we made. You bitches aren't over here gagging over Marilyn Monroe and Marlena Dietrich like the old fat are. You're gagging over Jennifer Gardner and 13 going on 30. You're gagging over 27 dresses. You're gagging over Molly Smiles and Brittany Murphy. Nothing's original. Nothing. Especially not the shit you fuckers like. Butter pop futurism, 90s aesthetic. All that shit you love. We made it.
Facts.
You were in our boot camp. And it's just called your life. Call that.
I think that makes the whole millennial boot camp thing really funny. Is that they think Gen Z thinks that we live under the same social norms that they do. We've explained it over and over again on this app that like we don't care that we're cringe, that we like actually are proud of cringe in a sense. Millennials look down on people who follow the crowds. It means you have no individuality, no individual sense of self. You care too much on what people think. It's embarrassing. I mean, I'm cringe. You're wearing the skirt I wore in 7th grade. Probably.
Yeah, why they call us cringe? Why they call us millennials cringe, man? Because we cling on to nostalgia. That's what's keeping us going strong. The nostalgia stuff. We love the stuff we grew up with. I love talking about the good experience I had growing up as a millennial, as a child. They don't understand that. You know. So if they want to call us cringe, well, call me the king of the millennial cringes. Shit, I'd wear that title with honor. I'll wear like a Targaryen. I'll be the king of millennials riding on a griffin, a majestic griffin with my millennial knights and millennial warrior princesses. We going to war. Shit, yeah, we gonna run this like Game of Thrones. we gonna be on some Elder Scrolls energy, man. We gonna be like the yeah, we're gonna form the Daggerfall Covenant or the Ebonheart Pact, or the Outmarried Dominion. We're gonna be like the High Elves, bro. We're gonna be like the High Elves on Elder Scrolls. We're gonna be y'all wanna look down on us, calling us cringe. Shucks. We the last generation that did awesome stuff, you know. Y'all the generation that live in a glass house and like to throw rocks at other generations, but don't want to take the rocks back when the rocks being hurled back at you. So if y'all want to call us cringe, we don't care. Us millennials don't care. We gonna continue being cool. We gonna continue doing the things we would normally do and live our lives by the grace of the Most High. Real talk, cringe. Everything cringe to Gen Z, huh? Everything cringe. Oh well, we don't care. Because us millennials, we gonna continue doing what we do. Best believe that.
Another 6 months to wear jeans under it. Oh, going to the bars looking at like carbon copies of each other, not dancing. Just we we were feral. Don't want to look like we're Gen Z on social media. That's also embarrassing.
Time somebody took a series called Millennial Bootcamp where I
Oh yeah, like she was saying, yeah, that's another thing. When Gen Z I heard when Gen Z go to parties, they just be staring at each other on the phone. They don't even dance. They don't go out there and mingle and stuff. And like I was saying earlier, when millennials went out, they turned up. Even in high school. Like when I was in high school, some of the classmates, they went clubbing on weekends. They went to the club. I'm talking about they was like, that's when we was in 11th grade and 10th grade, and especially the senior year. That's when millennials really turned up in their senior year in high school. That's when they really started turning up. Man, we went to school. We had students having tattoos. They like 14 years old already having tattoos. Man, some of the young guys was already growing facial hair. Some of them had almost a full beard because that's how they had their high testosterone. You see, a lot of younger men today, they have less testosterone. That's by design because they want to make men weaker. Now the Gen X men and the Boomer men, they had a lot of testosterone because they ain't had all that processed food. You see, that's what's hurting. That's what's hurting society, all that processed food. But yeah, and of course, we also had our flaws. You had some students, they had children, teen pregnancies. That's an issue that all generations dealt with, teen pregnancy. But that's what this video ain't about. I'm just saying. But yeah, millennials, man, some millennials grew up too fast, and some of them are late boomers. I think a lot of millennials gonna have a lot of late. I'm gonna see a good percentage of millennials, they're gonna be late boomers, Not I see about at least 10-20% of millennials, they're gonna be late boomers, They might get married late in life, or they gonna have children late in life, because they probably, trying to get their stuff together, But in most cases, most millennials, they try to start a family like right out of high school on their 20s, But yeah, to each his own, but yeah, they want to call millennials cringe and all that. It's bad enough we getting heat from the boomers. The boomers already look at us like we the spoiled generation and the whiny generation, and we don't need these young upstarts trying to call us cringe. They can't even remember a phone number by heart. They can't even write their name in cursive and stuff, let alone probably memorize a physical address without going on it, without Google searching. You see, we had to go look in the phone books. If we want to find somebody's address, we had to go look in the yellow pages A lot of Gen Z, they don't even know nothing about a phone book. They look at a phone book, they look at that, oh man, that's old fashioned. They don't even know nothing about a beeper or a pager. Like growing up in the 90s, we had some relatives, they had beepers and pagers. My daddy used to have a beeper. He had a beeper for his job, and he had a personal beeper, you know. They don't know nothing about stuff like that or pager. They don't know stuff. They used to sell beepers and pagers in the mall. That was a big thing back in the 90s, you know. That's how some guys got the females. If they had a cool looking pager or beeper, they were stunting with their beepers and pagers. That's how they got the females back in the 90s. They had their gold chain on, they wore gold. Some of them had their gold teeth. That was the swag back in the 90s. The beepers, the pagers, the gold chains, You could look at that in the movie New Jack City, All of everybody was trying to be like Nino Brown in the hood back in the day. Everybody wants to be like a Nino Brown.
Hey, I'm running late. I'll be down shortly.
Y'all excuse the ads. There we go.
Now, Janelle, what did we learn from this?
To mind your own business. Because you should just sat there and ate your food.
And now your account is private. Did you really think anybody born between 1981 and 1996 was going to take internet etiquette boot camp advice from someone who was in utero probably when we were manually coding on MySpace?
Mm-hmm.
Girl, you didn't even know you existed.
Exactly. Yeah, that young Gen Z wanted to teach us social media. When I was playing with my Ninja Turtle toys and Power Ranger toys as a little 10-year-old boy, she was just a little single cell swimming in her daddy loins. Didn't even exist. Shit, the hell she talking about trying to school millennials on social media etiquette. Better go sit her ass down. Shit.
You're gonna come for an entire generation. At least do your research. At least. Like, come on, girl. So, since your frontal lobe is still in the stages of development, we're going to take this as a lesson and let our frontal lobes continue developing for those critical thinking skills.
Where a Gen Z, you know what really gets me about that video is that you're in that video trying to pretend like you're a nice girl. You're saying, it's not that serious, don't leave hate. You're also in the caption saying, I love my millennial queens. But you're not.
Man, you can't. That's one thing you can't win us over with the bullshit. She said she love her millennial queen. She's trying to I guess win the millennials on. Nice try. That's not gonna work. Once you cross that line, it's a wrap. Yeah, once you cross that line, they came for them. Millennials came out the woodworks for her.
Because if you were a nice girl, you wouldn't have made that video to begin with.
Thanks.
And let me tell you, bullying an entire generation and telling them how not to be cringe is serious.
Mm-hmm.
Millennials are adults. We're dealing with the fact that our parents are aging. Some of us have multiple kids. We're paying bills. We're paying off student loans. We're coming to terms with the reality of life. And a lot of us come onto this app just to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not worried about being cringe and how you guys are perceiving us. We're more worried about the real problems in our lives.
Facts.
And the real problem between Gen Z and millennials is Gen Z, you don't actually want to see us for who we are. We're just dealing with the realities you haven't started to deal with.
Facts.
I know people in my real life, because I'm a millennial, who have already been to the funeral of both their parents.
That's sad.
I know
that's sad. I'm not ready to experience that. That is true what she said. You got some millennials out there, they lost both of their parents, man. They lost both of their parents, Yeah, you got a lot of millennials, they want to call millennials cringe. A lot of millennials, they dealing with some serious stuff. You got some millennials, they probably got a loved one dealing with a terminal illness, And you got these Gen Z want to call millennials cringe. You see a lot of Gen Z, they never been through nothing serious in life. They upstarts, I don't, some of them in their 20s, they got that, oh, I'm in my 20s, you can't tell me nothing. F you, I'm in my 20s. They feel like they too good to take advice from older people. See, that's one thing about most millennials. We took advice from like our Gen X relatives or our boomer relatives. We took advice, especially if it was good advice. And that's what they don't. You see, that's why you see a lot of youngsters they don't respect the older generation. And I understand you got some buffoons in the older generation because all generations you got your buffoons, but you should be able to have the discernment to tell who's a buffoon and not. You should be able to have that discernment, especially if they're giving you if they got wisdom. And that's one thing I could proudly say about the millennials. We had grandmas and grandpas that had wisdom. We had like me personally, both of my grandmothers, they didn't tolerate bullshit. They gave us good advice, you know, they didn't tolerate crap, like compared to the young grandmas, the grandparents, they way too young these days. They still trying to live out their glory days instead of be a damn grandparent. But yeah, the grandparents we had back as millennials, they was grandparents. They wasn't none of they wasn't trying to um be friendly, like be your friend. It was being your grandparent. And that's the problem with that's why I think a lot of the youth is messed up, not because they parents, want to be the friends instead of the parents. I'm just saying, you know, like you got this so-called term called gentle parenting. Man, we didn't have no term called gentle parenting. It was tough love. You got out of line, you got that belt to your ass. You got that comb to your ass. You got that shoe thrown at you. And not Gen Z, hear about what we had to when we got corrected. They be like, oh, that's abuse. No, it wasn't. It was called correction. It's the difference between spanking a child and abusing a child. Like if you beating a child and leaving marks or breaking a child arm, that's abuse. But if you getting a belt to your ass for cussing out one of your uncles or aunts or talking sassy to your elders, you gotta get dealt with. You got dealt with. It is what it is. You got dealt with. You had to take your lick and get corrected. That's how it was for us coming up as children. I had my share of ass whippings, you know. If I got out of line or one of my cousins got out of line, they got whipped by their parents. Same thing for me and my brother. If we got in trouble, we got corrected by my dad or mom. It is what it is. I don't hold that against my parents. I don't. I don't hold it against them. They did their job. They did their job as parents. Straight up. you know. And I know things different today, but that gentle parenting stuff, that's not gonna work. That gentle parenting stuff. Yes, indeed. But yeah, they want to see all that. Like the lady said just now, they want to come against a whole generation without doing their research. And understand if y'all hang around us millennials, we some of the most coolest people to be around, Gen Z. If you used to hang around a group of us millennials, man, we give you good game. Man, we'll introduce you to some cool movies, games, video games, music, but no, you just want to go perceive us from what your peers think of us and think that's how it is and call us cringe. But if you was to hang around us for at least a month, hang around some real hardcore millennials that have the knowledge and history of the eras they grew up in, your mind will be blown. Your mind will be blown. Real talk. That's on the most high. I put that on everything. I put that on my whole existence. If you was to hang around a group of millennials that have good knowledge and history of the 80s and 90s and the stuff they experienced, you will be amazed. Real talk. 100% true. It's undebatable. It's undebatable. Real talk. You will be crying and you'll probably be mad at your parents that you say, well, I couldn't be born earlier. But it is what it is.
Real life who have autistic kids and come to social media to post for fun. I know people in real life who are dealing with cancer. Do you think that as a millennial we're really...
And that's another thing. When the millennials was babies, we had to deal with a lot of stuff. They experiment on our generation. A lot of millennial babies was born with autism, with these corrupt poisons they injected in babies. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like when babies born, they want to always inject them babies with with the V word, because you can't say certain things on this platform. They probably already gonna get this live stream for mismedical information, but I don't care. But yeah, a lot of millennial babies in the 80s and 90s, someone was born with autism. Now we know that's not natural. That is a man-made cause because hundreds and thousands of years ago, babies wasn't being born with no mental birth defects like that. That's man-made from all the toxic, because the ultimate antibiotic is the mother's milk. That's why they try not to. That's why they don't want. Come on now, we human beings. Human beings why human babies gotta have formula, cow's milk and formula when they could have the mother's milk from the natural? Because back thousands of years ago, man, that's how human mothers nursed their babies with the mother's milk. They didn't have no bottles, they didn't have no Infamil and Similac and all that formula. They had to get fed from the mother's breast, back in the ancient world. But fast forward to the modern world, everything, is so synthetic and fake. It's like they trying to go against everything that's natural. I'm just saying. That's a whole nother topic for a stream. Another stream.
About what you think about the font we use. We're out here living real adult lives. We do not care. We do not care. So let us come to this place, this safe place that we're trying to create for ourselves, like this millennial talk, if you will call it whatever you will, that we do not care. We do not care if you find this cringe. We will be cringe. We will wear the tight leggings. We will do the side part if that's how we feel beautiful. Just leave us alone. We're not coming to attack you. So why are you?
Yep, I'm in my early 40s. If I want to wear a Dragon Ball t-shirt, Dragon Ball Z t-shirt, I'm going to wear the hell I want. I don't know how to put myself together. I know I could dress too. I could dress up. I could wear dress to impress, but some days you just want to wear a t-shirt and some jeans or some sweatpants and a regular t-shirt, But yeah, it is what it is. And like the lady said in this clip, we live in real life. We got issues. We dealing with adult issues, you got millennials, like the older millennials would be considered to be like in their 40s. Like I say 45 because a person that's like 48, like 47, 40, I consider that a young Gen X. To me, that's just my opinion. I think a person that's like in their late 40s today in 2026, if they're in their late 40s and 50s, that's Gen X. Now 60 and 70s, that's boomer stages. That's boomers. But yeah, but like I think like the youngest millennials, they probably might be like maybe 32 or in their early 30s, But yeah. So they could say all that if they want. We don't care if they call us Chris. We don't care. And like I say, that young lady want to talk about the sign language. No, I got a sign language for you, young lady. It's called my millennial middle finger. How about that? A millennial middle finger. Straight up.
I want to add to this whole conversation is that one thing my grandmother taught me, and I don't know what generation she would have been from, okay, because she's passed, was respect. She said to us when we were young, when somebody invites you to a place and you get there, you say hello to everybody and you stand until you're given a seat.
Facts.
Yes, don't go sitting anywhere. Because the last thing you want is having everybody coming in, everyone sitting down, and someone walking up to you and telling you this seat belongs to the host. And now you're embarrassed to get up and go find somewhere else.
Exactly. That's what they don't understand. You can't go in nobody's house and sit on any seat. Let that would have happened in the ancient world. That's like you going in the king's court and sitting on a throne. Man, that's automatic execution. Man, you getting put to death. You like to say if the king never came in the throne room yet, or he just addressing people, and you just go sit, or even if it's not the king's throne, you sit in a noble seat. You sit in the noble's chair, or somebody that's high in esteem and high importance. Man, they're gonna throw your ass in the dungeon in the ancient world, execute you. Sure, most likely execute you. And that's how it was, you know. We couldn't just go to nobody's house and sit, and you had to wait till they tell you to sit down, you know. Or like we had family get together, sometimes the children had to eat on the floor. We had to sit down on the floor with our plate or paper plates and eat on the floor. Because all the adults, they were sitting in the chairs, they were sitting in the living room, and we had no issues with that. We just all the children just gathered around each other and sat on the floor. Or we went eat outside. It all depend. Or they had little seats for the children to sit. I'm just saying. We couldn't just go sit anywhere. We had to follow instructions and be respectful.
And when they give you a place to sit, please sit there quietly and respectfully, because you must respect the people that were there before you got there. You walk in there with yourself and you think you know better than the people who are already there. This is what happens. Nobody is telling you not to post. Like I said, post whatever you want to post, but also be prepared for the responses that you are going to get. You can block a few, you can delete a few. Yeah, you can get angry at a few, but don't go poking people
Exactly.
if you are not prepared. You know, because every action has a reaction.
She called for the smoke, she got fire. She got rained on by the fire of the millennials.
When that lady said, I can't sit back and watch somebody who was.
Yep. I'm about to read some of these comments. I know the comments gonna be off the chain. Let's see the teach us to use social media. We started social media. Man, that got over 2.2 thousand likes. Fun fact, deleting social media is the new flex. Gen Z love ageism until we tell them they look older than us. Exactly. Yeah, you know, that's true. A lot of Gen Z do look older than the millennials. You got some millennials in their 30s, huh? You got some millennials in their 40s still look like they're in their 30s and 20s. Real talk. Yep, real talk. Yeah, and that's another thing. Yep. Yeah, condolences. Yep. Exactly. That's all. Yeah, I had a few classmates that transitioned too. You know, matter of fact, that was like a few years. I think about 2, 3 years ago. You know, had a classmate and somebody that grew up around us. You know, when we used to go to our grandmother's house, he used to play with us as children. You know, we used to play together. You know, go play football. You know, or tag. You know, and he passed away. You know, I think he was like in his 30s. Yeah. You know, when I heard that, I was like, man, but he was, I guess, trying to try some type of drugs, you know, and he had a bad batch. You're trying to just impress people, you know. But yeah, man, I hated for him to go out like that, man, you know. I hated for him to go out there, man. He probably, if he was alive today, he probably would have been in his late 30s, approaching 40. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why you gotta appreciate the time you have, man, in the land of the living. Real talk. No matter what you're going through. But yeah, I'm about to read some of these comments. Bullying a generation who grew up bullied by our own families. Bro, you about to hear it. Exactly. Yeah, we had relatives, man, that used to joan on us, used to clown us, man. Even our parents, my mama used to warn me about some of my Gen X uncles, man. Say you better not clown him, because he gonna make you cry. I mean, he gonna roast the hell out you. I had some uncles, man, they could roast the hell out of somebody. And they still, tell this day, they could roast the hell out of people. And my mom used to always warn me, say, look, you don't wanna joke with him. You don't wanna joke with that uncle. He gonna make you cry. You know, meaning he'll clown the shit out of you. Roast you so bad, man, you'll be embarrassed. Yep. And I'm sure everybody had family, uncles, aunts, or cousins like that. They could roast the hell out of people. Everybody family got those type. You know, they warn you about that person. Oh, that's so and so. You don't want to joke with him, because once he start joking about you, he ain't gonna stop. Yep. Millennials should write the rules in cursive. That'll give. I'm about to reply to. I'm gonna reply to that. I want to that will make Gen Z anxiety rate go up. Remember when the internet was so new, there was zero commercials? Yeah, I miss the old internet, exactly. The old internet, we didn't had all these AdSense bullshit. It was free. We had no commercials, and that was matter of fact, that was the only way we could escape commercials. The old internet, nah. We got this like the ads. It's flooding the internet. Everywhere you go, they got ads. It don't matter what social media platform you go on, you're gonna have ads. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, they all got ads. That brat was whining about using slang. She doesn't even know what the F etiquette is. For real. We were all developers on MySpace. Yep. Millennial trauma bond. We unite like Care Bears. Yeah. Yep. We had all the good cartoons. Care Bears. Yep. Power Rangers. Yep. Yeah. I'm about to pit Voltron. We the Voltron. We'll. Yeah. I'm about to pit there. We will combine like the Voltron. We would. We the Voltron. Not pit. We the Voltron. Or like Captain Planet, we'll unite our rings like the children on Captain Planet. We'll bring forth Captain Planet. That's why I say, man, we had all the cool shows, man. TV was awesome back in the 90s. Like every day, 7 days a week, you had something to watch. Even on your boring days, you had good television shows to watch. You could be bored as heck. You would always find a good movie to watch on TV back in the 90s. I don't care how bored you was. You found you something to do. We had no choice. We found us something to do. Gen Z, the first generation scoring lower on testing than the prior generation. Audacity is at an all-time high. Woo, they going in, man. A lot of millennials going in the chat. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Y'all never had a note snatching class and read out loud and it shows with your oversharing. Yep, that's what some classmates used to pass notes in school back then. Yep. We've been bullied since birth. Don't even start. Yeah, because like I said, they always kick on us. Like the older, like especially the boomers always kick our asses with talking about, oh, y'all the most spoiled generation, y'all the whiny generation, y'all lazy. No, they call Gen Z the lazy generation, but the boomers, I think all generations kick at millennials for some strange reason. We are the scapegoat of the generations. Us millennials, we are the scapegoats. They all generations trying to throw shade at us for some reason. I don't know what it is, because maybe we are like Malcolm in the Middle. we like him, Malcolm in the Middle. That show Malcolm in the Middle, when he the middle sibling, it feel like us millennials, we the middle sibling that always got to take all the heat for the bullshit that the other siblings did. That's what it feel like. Our generation of millennials, we feel like we Malcolm in the Middle. We take the heat for all the bull crap. But that's okay though. We going strong, millennials. We going strong because when we get up in age, y'all willing, we blessed to see our elder years. They gonna treat us like the new boomers. And I said that before, they gonna look at us as the new boomers. Like when the Gen Alpha, when they become teens and young adults, they gonna look at millennials as the new boomers. So we got that torch gonna be passed on to us, unfortunately. Because when all the boomers transition, because generations born, generations grow, they rise, and eventually they transition. Y'all know what I mean by transition. Because I ain't gonna say the term, die off, because that'll be harsh. I should say transition, But yeah, it's inevitable to happen to all generations, because y'all want to clown the millennials, but when us millennials, when all transition, when we all transition to the next realm, you know, or heaven or whatever you believe in, because you know some millennials they atheists, you got Christian millennials, you got Muslim millennials. I'm not here to debate religion. You know, everybody have a right to believe what the hell they want to believe in, or if you don't want to believe in any type of theory, that's your business. But yeah, I tell you one thing, we will leave a mark. Millennials, we will leave a mark on this earth. When we all transition, that's one thing about our generation. We gonna leave our mark. They gonna know that millennials were here. You know, like Brooks was here. Like if you saw the movie The Shawshank Redemption, before he unalived himself, he carved his name on that board. That's most millennials. We gonna be like millennials were here. You know, that's the mindset we should have as millennials. You know, like I said, we're gonna leave our mark. It don't matter where you at in life. To my fellow millennials, it don't matter where you at in life. You're gonna leave your mark. Yeah, you're gonna leave your mark on this earth. Real talk. When the student thinks she is the professor, exactly. Trying to school people like in their late 30s and early 40s, man, that been through a lot. That's what she don't understand. A lot of millennials, they've been through a lot, you know, but she trying to talk about social media etiquette. Man, she need to go sit a little behind down. Yeah, I remember Ask Jeeves. Yeah, they don't even know nothing about Ask Jeeves. Before they had Google, it was Ask Jeeves. Matter of fact, before you had Chat GPT, Grok, Google Gemini, we had Ask Jeeves. You had to always ask Jeeves for certain things. They don't even know about America Online. How many of y'all remember AOL, America Online? I do. Matter of fact, that was the first internet service we had. Dial up, America Online. They used to sell a disc, the America Online disc at Walmart. You could have buy like the CD-ROM you put in your computer to install America Online. Matter of fact, before you had apps, you had to buy apps on disk. The CD-ROM, you had to install applications on a disk on your computer. We didn't have apps. Like you got all these apps on the phone. Everything is an app now. You got an app for all major fast food joints out there. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Popeyes, Churches, Wingstop, Pizza Hut, Domino's. We had to actually go in the phone book and look for the Pizza Hut number or Domino's number and order a pizza. Or use the number they gave us on the coupons. I bet you Gen Z don't even know how to use coupons. They probably be scared to read the coupon number out when they use coupons. But they know how to use DoorDash, though. They know how to use from Uber Eats. They know how to use the apps to order food, though. And that's the problem with all these apps, is making society lazy and antisocial. Because you see, we had no choice to use apps. We had to actually go to the establishment and order stuff or pick up our food, unless they had a delivery service. Lady that asked, can you read an analog clock? Do you know 3 phone numbers by heart? What about addresses? I busted out so hard. Yeah, she was on point. That sister that was talking about, do y'all know how to remember 3 phone numbers, an analog clock? Yeah, that's another thing. They taught us how to read clocks in school. They taught us all that. They taught us how to read clocks. They taught us how to read signs, like the signs in a row, you know. Like they taught us about the traffic lights in the kindergarten, like red means stop, yellow means slow down and caution, and green means go. They taught us all that. They taught us how to read symbols and all that, certain symbols in society. So what the hell she talking about? Social media etiquette, emojis, man. That's cringe. Using emojis all the time. Yeah, we all guilty of using these bullshit emojis. But you know, if you used to use emojis, having a serious conversation with somebody that's hold themselves at a high esteem. If you was to reply with an emoji, they'll look at you like something wrong with you. You know, they'll look like, are you serious? Yep, stop, drop, and roll. There you go, Christian. Yeah, they taught us stop, drop, and roll. We used to get, the firemen used to come visit us at school. The police dog, one time the police dog came in our school. The cops came with their dogs one time, and they told us about what the canine dogs do and all that. Gave us a demonstration. Yeah. We had the drug program there. You know, we had all that. They taught us not to talk to strangers. We was taught not to talk to strangers. You know, don't open the door for strangers. As a Gen X, As a Gen X, let me tell you, social media is millennials' domain. They really do own that shit. I am not too proud to give it up to the millennials when we're talking about the internet. Man, that Gen X said, and that's coming from a Gen X person. Now you know it's bad when Gen X gonna pitch in and say the internet is the millennials' domain. I gotta read that again. It said, as a Gen X, let me tell you, social media is millennials' domain. They really do own that shit. I am not too proud to give it up to the millennials when we talking about the internet. Facts. Because we was experiencing the infantile state of the internet. We know the old internet. See, that's the beauty of us millennials. We remember the old world, and we remember the old. We live in the old world, and we could live in this new age bullshit world. But we rather live in the old world, though. Most millennials, they rather live in the old world, the world that was before, this social media shit and post-pandemic world that we living in now. We miss the old world. We like the elves, man. Want to go back to the undying lands on Lord of the Rings. That's what I feel like. We want to go. We want to return to the undying lands as like the elves in Lord of the Rings. If you watch the Lord of the Rings movies, like Return of the King, when they was going back to the Holy Land, the elves, they was going back to the undying land. That's mostly like the Holy Land. Mhm. Hand Gen Z a phone book and a rotary phone. It's over for them. Yeah, they gonna have a panic attack. Yeah, give them one of them old big dinosaur cell phones, them old brick cell phones. They look at that, don't know what to do with it. They think that's they'll go crazy. Give them a big cell phone. I'm talking about them big satellite phones from the 80s and 90s, them big old cell phones. Let alone give them a flip phone. Give them a regular cell phone when the original cell phones came out. The track phones, the flip phones. Give them one of those. I was born before Google. Shut up. 83 baby here. There's absolutely nothing Gen Z can teach me about social media. Ooh, they really, like I say, they poked the bell on this one. They poked the bell. Puritans with an iPhone. Yeah, that was funny. Puritans with an iPhone. I'm a millennial. Why would I want to act like Gen Z? I'm so over it. Just live your life. Exactly. Gen Z can call millennials cringe, and we can respond that Gen Z is so terrified of being genuine that everyone being anything but jaded and ironic is bad. Mhm. Somebody said Gen Z is just regurgitating black culture phrases. You ate for example. Dang. I don't think it has nothing to do. It's not a racial issue. It's just a generational issue. As a millennial, the responses are not given. They don't care about ancient things we had. We need to be clear about the word she claimed Gen Z created. It's from African American vernacular. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. A lot of these Gen Z sayings, it's coming from ebonics, like they like to call it ebonics, slang, you know. No, but yeah, it was crazy. Like they can't tell us nothing as millennials. Yeah, I'm just reading the comment. Yep, it's crazy. But yeah, they can't tell us nothing, man. We gonna continue to thrive with the grace of the Most High. Millennials, we gonna thrive. And I don't know what's causing this generational divide. You know, I don't get it. Why Gen Z is canceling millennials. The battle of birth years. Talking point. Generational friction isn't new, but social media has turned it into a daily discourse. Why millennials spent years fighting boomers, they are now being targeted by Gen Z. Yeah, we got to deal with the bullshit that the boomers say about us. And now y'all young unstarts want to come throw stones at us. for no reason. We don't. That's one thing about us millennials. We the most chill generation. We don't bother nobody. We chill. We mind our business. We just want to live and let live. We just want to have fun. Have good memories. Trying to create better experience and have good memories of this life. But we don't bother nobody. I noticed that about the millennial generation. We don't bother anybody. We stay in our lane. At least I know for myself, we stay in our lane. Most millennials, we stay in our lane. We just mind our business. We go through our everyday life. Yeah, we got our problems. We got our bullshit. We got our bad apples. We got our buffoons and buffoonettes. But yeah, I noticed that we mind our business. And now we're being targeted by Gen Z for no apparent reason. The core conflict. It's a clash between millennials, earnestness, and Gen Z nihilism. Exactly. And that's another weakness of Gen Z. They do have a lot of knowledge. Matter of fact, they can't come pit this on us, millennials. At least we don't have the black pill and the doomer culture. And they want to call millennials cringe, but a lot of Gen Z, they making doom and gloom content. The doomers, the black pill content. They on that nihilistic shit. They be on that nihilism and life is meaningless. You got a lot of Gen Z content creators talking about why working a 9-to-5 job is pointless. Man, please, working a 9-to-5 is not pointless. It's your way of having a roof over your head. It's a way of keeping food in your ice box. It's a way of keeping clothing on your back. But you got a lot of these Gen Z millennial content creators, I call them grifters, talking about they living off of they making the same content kicking against the job market, but they living off their boomer parents or Gen X relatives, but have the nerve to talk about why not working a job is beneficial. Man, you better go sit your ass down and go better fill out a damn application. Shit. Because you can't rely on your parents forever. You better get out there and get it. But you want to make content of kicking against us. The cringe factor. The script. So Gen Z, the millennial aesthetic isn't just old, it's cringy or churchy. This refers to things that were trendy in 2014 and are now seen trying too hard. Trying too hard. What we trying too hard? They need to sit their asses down. Fashion. The rejection of skinny jeans and side parts is in favor of baggy silhouettes and middle parts. The girl boss era. Gen Z views the 2010s hustle culture and live, laugh, love the core as performative and out loud, out of touch. Harry Potter / Disney adults. Gen Z find a millennial tendency to sort their entire personality into Hogwarts houses or adult milestones to be embarrassing. Now, they can't speak on that. I speak on that before too. I even joked about the millennials. I call us the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell generation. Like if you're a millennial man, you might have Peter Pan syndrome. You like reliving out your childhood memories. You might hold on to nostalgia. If you're a millennial woman, you're a Tinkerbell. We are the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell generation, and I'm proud to say that we're gonna stand on that shit. I'm Peter Pan. Because Peter Pan represent rebellion, freedom, and kicking against and going against the grain. I ain't talking about the Peter Pan character. I'm talking about my version of Peter Pan. He represents freedom, rebelling against the evil archfey of the Fey realm. He represent rebellion, freedom, kicking against the powers that be, and want to create a whole better new world for everybody to have fun, i.e. the real Neverland. Yeah, I know I'm going all over the place, but yeah, they look at us because we ain't growing up. We still clinging on to nostalgia and stuff. They look at like Gen Z look at millennials like we ain't growing up. How they could tell us to grow up when they're not even our age, when they're not even paying strong, they don't even have serious bills they paying. The hell they talking about? And yeah, we are good at adulting or taking care of business. I don't use the term adulting. I just say taking care of business. That's what they taught us. You need to go handle your business, taking care of business, paying your bills. If you're a married man, providing for your family, You know, if you're a married couple, providing for your children, making sure your children have food to eat. You know, they healthy. You know, they got all their stuff they need for school and stuff. That's what taking care of business is. But I don't use the term adulting. I don't use that term. I just say taking care of business or handling business. That's what they said. That's what I heard growing up. You know, from my parents and uncles and aunts. They said I got business to take care of. They didn't say I was going adulting. Now that might be a Gen Z term. I never heard that term adulting. I only heard that term on the internet, adulting. We just say I got some business to tend to, you know. All right, talking point 2, digital authenticity versus the curated grid. The script. Millennials invented the Instagram aesthetic, perfect lighting, heavy filters, and curated lives. Gen Z wants the opposite. The millennial pause. Gen Z mocks the split-second pause millennials make at the start of a video to ensure the camera is recording. Damn, they mock millennials for just pausing to make sure the camera recording. Man, that's corny. You know, I could care less what they think when I make a video or stream. I could care less. Shit. You know, because content is content. Photo dumps. While millennials post one perfect photo, Gen Z posts 10 blurry, low effort photos to a signal authenticity. Exactly. Yeah, I don't believe in posting 10 pictures of the same picture. I don't do that shit. I take a few pictures and I judge the pictures and I post the best out of the pictures I take. Say if I'm taking a selfie on social media, I might take about maybe 5, at least 5 to the max, you know, pictures of the selfie, and I'm gonna judge the best one and I'll post that. But Gen Z, they post all 20 of them same pictures. Not me. Emoji usage. Using the emoji is a sign of being old. Gen Z uses the skull or the loud crying emoji to express laughter. Huh? Gen Z think using emojis is old? As I recall, I think Gen Z is the generation that use the emojis the most. I thought that was a Gen Z thing, to be honest. Emojis, I thought that was a Gen Z thing. Because me personally, all that texting, man, I don't like all that text. I'd rather talk on the phone. I'd rather, you know, and all these texting abbreviations, man. Gen Z can't even talk on the phone for probably 30 minutes. All they want to do is text, write whole paragraphs, all these short sentences. No, we didn't have text messages back in the day. You had to actually call somebody number and talk on the phone, have a conversation. That was before all the smartphones and iPhones. I'm just saying. Point 3, economic nihilism versus adulting. Millennials enter the workforce during a recession and try to make hustle a personality trait. Gen Z enter a fractured world and decide to hustle wasn't worth it. And that's another thing they don't understand. Most millennials, we had to go through the recession. In 2008, when Obama was in office, we had to deal with the recession back in 2008. So what the hell Gen Z talking about? We've been through we survived the recession. We damn near survived a terrorist attack, 9/11, even though we know that was an inside job. We witnessed. I would never thought I would witness something like that, like 9/11 when the Twin Towers got destroyed. I would never thought we was going to experience like something like that. And that's another thing. We experienced 5 decades, and we're not even in our 50s yet. Millennials, us millennials, we're not even in our 50s yet, and we lived through 5 decades. We lived through the 80s. Like if you was born in the 80s, you lived through the 80s. You lived through the 90s. You lived through the 2000s. You lived through the 2010s. And now we're living in the 2020s. This is the 5th decade. It's not even 2030 yet. And we already living in our 5th decade. That's crazy. We're not even 50 years old yet. Most millennials, we're not in our 50s. And we was alive in 5 decades. That's crazy. That's like we're in a whole time continuum. It's like, it's weird. I can't put my hand on it. It's weird. Yeah, because I was born in '84. So I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in the 2000s, the 2010s. And now we're in the 2020s. So that's the 5th decade. That's crazy. Yeah, like I say, man, it's weird. But hey, we thriving. The work ethic. Gen Z prioritize quiet quitting and firm boundaries. They see the millennial pride is burnt out as a scam. They refuse to buy into. Millennials created the term adulting. Also, millennials created the term adulting. Oh well, they did. I should say taking care of business. Well, okay, they created the term adulting. I don't use the term no. I just say taking care of business. That's just me personally to describe basic chores. Gen Z views this as a sign of fragility, preferring a more direct, if cynical approach to life hardships. Well, that's life. You're gonna have hardships. The Bible talk about that. Like the great men in the Bible had to deal with hardships. The prophets had to definitely deal with hardship. Let alone the Messiah had to deal with the ultimate hardship. Yeshua, who the world calls Jesus Christ, he had to deal with the ultimate hardship. You know, being tortured, man, being rejected by his own people. He came to liberate a people that rejected him. You know, he had to deal with a stiff-necked people, man, that rejected him. You know, they didn't believe the miracles. They falsely accused him. They slandered. Y'all want to talk about slander and getting your name drug in the mud? That's who they. That's what man. That's who they did that to the Messiah. They slandered him. They went on smear campaigns. You know, and all because he wants to kick against the status quo. He wants to liberate a people and teach people how to repent from their wicked ways. You know, and he came for God's people, his chosen people, the Israelites. But we know the majority of them was wicked. They rejected him. There was a small percentage that received him, and there's going to be a remnant that's going to be saved. You know, but yeah, it's another topic for another time. Yeah, let's get back to the talking. So millennials did create the term adult, where I never use it. I don't use it. I'm gonna use the term adult. I just say handling business. Like Judge Joe Brown be saying, take care of business. Yo, man, you gotta take care of business, young man. That's the part of being a man is you gotta take care of business. Straight up. That's what Judge Joe Brown used to when he used to get on them men on his show. Oh yeah, he used to get on them deadbeat fathers and them deadbeat men that didn't want to provide and be at work. He used to get on them. He used to be like, you ain't no man, you a male. I don't consider you a man. Some of them used to try to get mad. He'll kick him out the courtroom. Judge Joe Brown, he didn't tolerate bullshit. Judge Joe Brown, he didn't tolerate bullshit. If you want to spot a millennial, look for a sarcastic joke about coffee or wine. Huh. They joke about us drinking wine. I like wine. I don't care. Man, I like me a good bottle of Stella Rosa or some Morgan David. Hmm. If you want to spot Gen Z, look for a joke that makes absolutely no sense. Now that's true. That's true. But yeah, they want to mock millennials for drinking coffee and wine. Oh well, that's more wine for me. And more coffee for anybody that drink coffee. Absurdist humor. Gen Z humor is often surreal, fast-paced, and layered in 5 levels of irony. Millennial humor often relies on relatable, observable tropes. The moment when. Punctuation. Gen Z often finds full stops, periods at the end of a text message to be aggressive or angry, when millennials see it as proper grammar. So what? So Gen Z often finds full stop periods at the end of a text message to be aggressive. Man, that's how sensitive Gen Z is. No, it's proper punctuation. If you write in a sentence, you're gonna have the period at the end. That means you finished the sentence. You see, we was taught proper punctuation in school. I don't know what they teaching children today in school because it taught us, how to write sentences and how to conduct sentences and all that stuff. Yeah. Ultimately, the hate isn't literate. It's a way for a new generation to carve out its own identity. Millennials were the disruptors once. Now they are the establishment being disrupted. The future. Remind the audience that Gen Alpha is already starting to mock Gen Z slang, proving that the cycle of cringe is inevitable for everyone. We don't care. Like I said, us millennials, we gonna We're gonna thrive. We're gonna thrive, man. We ain't going nowhere. You know, the Most High got us. Us millennials. You know, I like to joke. I say the millennials is the Most High's favorite generation. Shit. Jesus' favorite generation is the millennials. You know, well, if I was doing a stream about that, that's gonna really piss a lot of people off. They're gonna be like, I see some religious people. What is it in the Bible? God loves everybody. I can see the Christians coming. It don't matter what generation it is. God loves everybody. And I'm just joking. I'm just coming out with it. I said, man, millennials, God's favorite generation. You know, I'll have a T-shirt. I should make a T-shirt. Have me a custom-made T-shirt. Be like, millennials. Have the word millennials, and at the bottom, God's favorite generation. Boy, that'll probably start. Somebody will get offended if I wear a shirt like that. Yep. Oh yeah, there. I can see the old religious people. God loves all generation. We all fall short of glory. True, we do all fall short of glory, but that don't mean nothing. The millennials is God's favorite generation. That's not scripture. That's not biblical. And then you'll have some Israelites. Oh man, you an Israelite. Yeah, I know I'm Israelite. You ain't a millennial, you an Israelite. You know, they'll cover the camp doctrine and all that. You know, and then I can see them. They don't matter what generation. You're gonna have a lot of millennials going. You're gonna have a lot of millennials getting destroyed. I can see GMS. You're gonna have a lot of millennials getting destroyed by the nuclear missiles. If they don't repent, the Lord gonna destroy millennials, Gen Z, and boomers. If y'all don't repent and bow down and worship Yahweh Shai. You know how GMS be, boy, they like teaching that doctrine about missiles destroying stuff. America gonna be destroyed. It don't matter if you're a millennial, Gen Z. If you don't repent, you're gonna be missile food. America about to be destroyed. That's their catchphrase. You could just be minding your business, you know, going to the coffee shop or going to work. You know, you walk into your job, man, they on the street corner preaching. Hey, you know America gonna be destroyed? You look at them with a dumbfounded, huh? Yeah, America gonna be destroyed, brother. Sister, come here, sister. You know you're Israelite? And I understand they got their purpose, but man, some of them they come with it out. They come with the outlandish attitude. Some of them know. Yep. But yeah, man, millennials, man, we all right. We ain't bothering nobody. We just trying to survive life. We just trying to survive life like everybody else. Straight up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just like how Gen Z wanna trying to criticize us millennials, Gen Alpha and the generations after them gonna do the same to them. Because they gotta get old. Ooh, it's gonna be exciting to see when they get in their 30s, Gen Z. Oh yeah, it's gonna get exciting when they get up in age. Because right now, most Gen Z like in their 20s, like most of them in their late teens and 20s. You know, some of them probably are pushing 30. Wait till they get like in their mid 30s and 40s. They think life is hard. Wait till like I tell it to any young person, I say, y'all still gotta experience a lot of stuff. Wait till y'all get in y'all 40s. That's when real life start kicking in. And I stand on that. That's when real life start kicking in, when you get in your 40s. You know, especially when you gotta deal with hardships, you know, challenges and stuff. But yeah. Gen Z side, man character energy. It's given touch grass, caught in full key. Millennial side, to be mocked. I did, dang doggy. Coffee is my personality. Adulting is hard. Yep. But yeah, man, like I said, you got some cool Gen Zs out there. You know, but like I said, that social media, man, people go to social media and embarrass themselves. But yeah, that young lady that made that video about millennial boot camp, she messed up. Be like Bill Dukes on Minister Society on that scene when Can got caught up with the law. Oh, you got fucked up, right? You know you done fucked up, right? You know you fucked up, right? That's how I felt for that young lady when she made that video about millennial boot camp. Because they came for her. She poked the hornet's nest. Real talk, she poked the hornet's nest. And they came with a flaming sting. Yes, indeed. They came with a flaming sting. But like I said, we cool. Us millennials, we a cool generation. You know, if you're a millennial, they got good common sense, man. Man, boomers like having conversations with you. All Gen Xers, you know. But like I said, you got some knucklehead millennials too. You got some millennials that's on that buffoonery and stuff. But Yeah, they want to call us cringe and stuff. I could care less. Like I said, we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna continue to survive and thrive through the grace of the Most High. Straight up. Yes, indeed. Because we had to deal with a lot of stuff in a public food system. We had our trials and tribulations, just like all generations do. And Gen Z, they never really been through nothing yet. Wait till they get and some of them, they never start life yet because they living with their parents and they don't want to do nothing with themselves. And I understand you got some Gen Zs, they out there starting their life. They got lucky, they had the good connections, they made the right decisions and they homeowners. And kudos to them. But if you were Gen Z and you got it together, you should not have a right to criticize millennials because you got it together. Count yourself blessed if you got it together. If you got a roof over your head, if you're a Gen Z that you're paying your own bills, you got your own roof over your head, whether it's an apartment or if you're a homeowner, pat yourself on the back, man. You should not be trying to talk shit about millennials. You're blessed. You're fucking blessed. Real talk. But yeah, because you got a lot of millennials still struggling, just like you got Gen Z struggling. Unfortunately, you have some millennials and Gen Z, they got to move back in with their parents. And I don't shame nobody for living in with their parents, because I know times could be hard, The powers that be, man, with the economy, they want things to go up, things going up, prices is too high, even fast food expensive, man. It's so ridiculous. And then you got shrinkflation. Matter of fact, I brought me a king size Milky Way. Yeah, Milky Way. And when I opened the pack, both pieces of the Milky Way, they were small. They wasn't the man. I remember back in the day. You see, that's why I miss the 90s. Back in the 90s, when you brought a king size candy, you had got 2 full size Milky Ways. Or if you brought a Twix, a king size Twix, you got 4 full size Twixes. I'm talking about the Twixes used to be long. Now they small. If you buy a king size Twix, man, you getting 4 mini Twixes. Tell me if I'm lying. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the shrinkflation. It's ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous. Straight up. It's ridiculous, man. And it's pissing me off. And I know it's pissing a lot of people. I know shrinkflation pisses me off. It pisses me the hell off. Straight up. You spending your hard-earned money on an item in a store and it's smaller than it's smaller, and the price just keep going up. Man, a lot of people gonna start. I'm surprised people ain't going to the grocery store and start turning over shopping carts and just hawking out. And I don't promote that. Don't go to this grocery store and crash out. Now, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth going to jail over some goddamn candy bars because they too small because of shrinkflation. Because it's like they want people to crash out because they want to have people in jail and in captivity. They want to make this like a dictatorship, man. I'm just saying. They want to make this. It's like they want to make life difficult for everybody. It don't matter what generation you is. It don't matter if you're a boomer, Gen X, Gen Z, millennial. They just want to make it difficult for everybody. If life was so simple and fair to a certain extent, I think you'll have more happy people. Like if the work week was Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday and everybody got every weekend off, I think more people would be happy. Pay people a livable wage, have better benefits on a job, good work-life balances. Man, you have a lot of happy Americans, man. Everybody be skipping and singing like the damn Smurfs and all the 7 dwarfs on Snow White. You know what I'm saying? We're really being Neverland. Oh yeah, we're really being Neverland. Yes, indeed. We all be in Neverland. If everybody was happy, working a good job with benefits, with a good work-life balance, because that's all what people really want. Most people, what's sad? Most people don't want to be rich. Most people just want to live a comfortable life. They want to make decent amount of money to sustain themselves, pay their bills, have enough to save, have enough to go on vacation once or twice a year. That's what most people want. They don't want to be rich. Like what you see on these influencers flaunting the Lamborghinis and all them big houses. Man, these influencers, they living a lie. Don't fall for the illusion, man. Most of these influencers you see on Instagram or TikTok, they're renting those nice mansions in LA or Miami. Because you could go on the housing websites that sell homes. Man, a lot of them mansions in Miami and LA, They asking, they want millions for that. They want, and I ain't talking about millions. You best cough up at least 10 or 15 million, if not 20 million. You know, if you want a nice, if you want a cottage, not a cottage, I wanted to say a condo. No, not a condo, a villa. They call them villas. If you want a nice villa in Miami, you better be coughing up at least 10 or 20 million, probably 50 million for some. I'm just saying, you know. And you got some of these influencers, they living, you thinking they really making it. No, they renting those houses. Even the celebrities, like the show MTV Cribs. Man, most of them celebrities, they rented those houses, those cars, they renting it. Like all them celebrities you saw on the show MTV Cribs, it's 2026. They don't live in them homes no more. They probably sold them homes. They probably sold them cars. Yeah, that was the show back in the day. You know, everybody was watching Cribs, MTV Cribs. But most of them celebrities that you seen on MTV Cribs, they don't own them homes no more. They probably sold them. They sold all them cars. In most of the cases, they be renting those cars in them homes. But we're at the 2 hour mark. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up in a few. But like I said, I'm proud to be a millennial. Millennials stand up. If you was born in the 80s, like 1980, I think it's 1981 to 1996. Me personally, the cutoff years for me for millennials is 99, because 2000, I consider 2000 the beginning stage for Gen Z. That's just my opinion. Like if you was born in the year 2000 up to maybe 2010 or 2015, I give it 2000 and 2015. That's Gen Z years. You know, that's Gen Z years. That's just my opinion about it. You know, because some people say, you know, Gen Z start after 97, like 96. That's, you know, but my cutoff year for millennials is 99 or 98. You know, definitely before 2000. 2000 is the beginning of Gen Z for me. That's the year. That's just my opinion, but proud to be a millennial. Yeah. And now anything before anything before 1980, that's Gen X. Like 19, think it was like 1969 and 1970s, 79, that's Gen X. If you was like if you was born like in the late 60s, like late 60s in the 70s, yeah, you Gen X. If you was born in definitely if you was born in the 70s, you Gen X. Shout out to Gen X, because that's the toughest generation, Gen X, because they was thrown to the wolves by their parents. They had to figure it out the hard way, a lot of Gen X. And if they talk shit to each other, man, they knuckle up. They settled it with the quickness. They wasn't online going back and forth, doing all this content back and forth. That's one thing I respect about Gen X. They settle their issues quick. They handle their issues quick. They wasn't making no back and forth content like you see today on social media. You know, making content, all that drama. No, if they had an issue, they'll talk it out. They'll try to talk it out. But if not, they'll knuckle it up. They'll get in a fist fight and laugh it off at the bar later, and get drunk and laugh it off. And next thing you know, they best partners. You know, in most cases. It talks about the generation cutoffs online. Yeah, I seen it before. Yeah, they got like a chart, like the chart. Yep. Because I think the generation before the boomers is called a solid generation, or the greatest generation. No, yeah, I think you had the solid generation, the greatest generation. Then you had the boomers. I think then it's Gen X, then it's millennials. I'm an old millennial. I was born a couple of years earlier. I could have been Gen X. And then they got the term called zillennial, like a fusion between Gen X and millennial. They want to say like if you was born like between 1981 and 1983, they consider you Gen X. Because I had a Gen X person told me that they was like, man, you're up there with us, man. Because I guess how I carry myself, man, you could be Gen X, man. And I was like, no, I was born in 84, millennial. And he was like, oh no, man, you up there with us, man. You could be a zillennial, a Gen X, you know. But you know, I stand on what I stand on, you know. Yeah. And just like they got zillennial or Gen Z that was born like towards the last stage of millennial years, they call them zillennials. But yeah, it is what it is. Gen Z, all I know, Gen Z, they better go sit their asses down, man, trying to school millennials how to run on the internet. when we was around, when the internet was in its beginning stages. They don't even know the old internet. Like I said, I miss the old internet. When you got to go to third-party websites and people that made their own websites to go look for information. Like for back in the day when I was first getting into anime and Dragon Ball Z, man, we used to go to these fan-made websites. We didn't have no Wikipedia. We didn't have social media with reels and shorts. And now you got these young content creators. And that's another thing. I'm gonna make a whole stream about how Gen Z disrespecting Dragon Ball Z, man. What's up with Gen Z and these new generation want to disrespect Dragon Ball Z? You got the audacity. Now you got a lot of people that's fans of Invincible trying to compare Viltrumites to the Saiyans. Yeah, the Viltrumites strong, but they can't. They ain't on no DBZ level, man. Don't get me started. And I already know they'll tell me, oh man, you just a Dragon Ball Z fan, but I don't care. You know, you have buffoons out there trying to compare Bragg to Jiren. Get the fuck out of here, man. Man, y'all don't want to smoke with DBZ, man. Frieza is the king of humiliation, man. Frieza is known to do humiliation rituals on his enemies. Look what he did to Nail, man. Look what he did to Vegeta, man. Frieza is known to do humiliation rituals on his enemies. You know, like when he hit Nail in the back and his chest inflated, man. Man, that was that symbolized that he was taking his, you know what? You know, because Frieza, you know, a lot of people question his sexuality, you know, Frieza, you know, even though he's considered a male character, he's a reptilian, you know. But yeah, but Frieza, man, he known to humiliate his enemies. Look how he humiliated Vegeta, man. Vegeta took a lot of humiliation rituals in Dragon Ball Z. Even when he fought Android 18, he got both his arms broken, man, by Android 18. That's a humiliation ritual. You know, an anime humiliation ritual, if you call it. But yeah, y'all want to compare Viltrumites to Saiyans? 3BZ, man, Master, man, even Krillin, man, Krillin would beat the shit out of Viltrumite Krillin. Master Roshi. Man, Master Roshi will run blocks around y'all invincible characters. That's just new people that have no respect for the old school, man. For the old anime. You know. Yep. And then you got these rage bait content creators too. I can't stand these rage bait, like, why this character ain't close. You know what I'm talking about. Why Superman versus Thrag ain't so close. That's cringe. That's rage bait content. I call that rage bait content, man. And I think a lot of them content creators that does that be AI generated bullshit. You know, it be industry plans. They just want to start a flame war between fans. That's industry. That's rage bait. That's why it's called rage bait. It's rage bait content. They want to start a flame war between certain fans and certain fandoms. You know, because they feed off that energy. It's energy harvesting. I know it sounds conspiracy, like a conspiracy, but it's true. It's energy harvesting. You know, why Superman versus Homelander, you know, you even got he trying to pit Homelander up against the Viltrumites and all that. You know, it's crazy. Like I said, that's all energy harvesting. They harvesting energy off of certain fandoms. You know, I know if you know, you know. Yeah, but I don't fall into that though. I don't watch them type of videos, you know, why Goku versus this character ain't so close, you know, or why I think Goku can't beat Superman, or why Batman could destroy this universe and all that bullshit, man. I don't entertain that shit. Because at the end of the day, if you're a fan of something, you're gonna be biased towards your favorite character in the story, in the fucking story. You're gonna be biased towards your favorite character. And if you writing a fanfic about a certain crossover, you're gonna always give plot armor to your favorite character. It is what it is. You can't get around it. That's just writer's nature. You know, because if you create a character, you're gonna treat that character like it's your baby, like it's your child. You gonna always have plot armor. Kishimoto did it in Naruto, man. Naruto Shippuden, man. Sasuke had so much plot armor, and Sasuke is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character in Naruto. Sasuke Uchiha. You know, I got many favorite characters in Naruto, but Sasuke since day one. Was my favorite character since day one, Sasuke Uchiha. And I'll be first to say he had so much plot armor. He should have lost to Killer Bee. He should have lost to Raikage. And I stand on it. I'm pissed off that he didn't lose to Raikage because when he fought Killer Bee destroyed him and Team Hawk. I mean, Killer Bee steamrolled through them motherfuckers like a freight train. But no, thanks to plot armor, he defeated Killer Bee. He defeated the Raikage. You know, that was bullshit, man. He should have actually lost his life when he fought against Killer Bee. He should have died. And I stand on that. But you're going to have some Narutoids out there. Oh, man, he cool, man. He beat him fair and square. No, he didn't beat Killer Bee fair and square. He barely beat Killer Bee. And I'm a Sasuke fan. And I got to call it fair. I got to call it fair. He barely beat Killer Bee. And he barely beat the Raikage when he went to the Kage summit. You know, I mean, a Raikage man slammed him into the ground, did that power bomb on him. It wasn't a power bomb, it was a power drive. It was called a Riga bomb or Liga bomb. It was a wrestling move. I mean, he did that move on Sasuke, that wrestling move. That should have killed Sasuke ass, man. But no, thanks to plot armor, he survived it, and for some reason he defeated the Raikage by the skin of his teeth. You know, like I say, yeah, plot armor is a big thing going on in anime, comic books, and fiction. It's not going anywhere. In my opinion, it's not going anywhere, plot armor. Because if you're a writer, you're going to always be biased toward a certain character or group of characters. You might have your favorite character lose a couple of fights, but you're always going to try to help on top. And don't get me started on a Mary Sue. Mary Sue, what's the term? It's called Mary Sue. Yeah, I can't stand Mary Sue characters. That's like a female character they want to make. She don't never lose. She flawless. You know, she rarely get scuffed up in a match or fight. She always come on top. That's a Mary Sue. And I think they got a term for the male characters like that too. But yeah, Mary Sue, a perfect example of a Mary Sue is Rey from the new Star Wars trilogy. The Disney Star Wars movie. Rey, how the hell she gonna pick up a lightsaber and use that shit like she a experienced Jedi going up against Kylo Ren? How the hell she was gonna be able to beat Kylo Ren and the new Star Wars trilogy, the first one, The Force Awakens. Yeah, I watched that cringe show. Now that's cringe. I never watched The Return of Skywalker yet, but I watched the first two. That new Disney Star Wars trilogy is bullshit. It's atrocious. It's an abomination. How the heck Rey gonna pick up a lightsaber and use that like she a Jedi Knight? You gotta be a Padawan first. You gotta be taught by experienced Jedi. You gotta be an apprentice. She went against the old Jedi way. That was a FU to George Lucas, man. When Disney made them new Star Wars trilogy, that's a huge FU to George Lucas. Why, George? Why? Why you had to sell your damn IP to Disney, man? Because Disney is the fucking devil, man. Disney is the fucking devil when it comes to IPs. If you sell your IP to Disney, you might as well kiss it goodbye, because they just gonna turn your IP into an abomination. Now, IP stands for intellectual property. That's what it stands for. For those that don't know, it stands for intellectual property, meaning your copyrighted information, your creation. Disney brought out Marvel. They took over Star Wars, and look what they're doing to these franchises that we love growing up watching and reading about. The comic book industry is going down, man. DC and Marvel ain't looking too good right now. Manga is kicking the ass of American comics right now. Yeah, manga, Japanese manga. Manga is coming back stronger than ever. Rightfully so, and they deserve to come back stronger than ever, because DC and Marvel don't know what the fuck they doing right now. They just got their hand up their ass. They coming out with all these cringe-worthy comics. They want to insert these political ideologies in their comic books. No, we just want to read a good comic about the superheroes going up against the villains, good guys versus bad guys. The hero save the day, get the girl. Simple shit, you know? Simple shit. We don't need these identity politics and, you know, stuff in our comic books and shit, man. No. We just want to read some good old comics, you know, watch some good superhero movies. But no, they want to put all that modern bullshit in there. You know, it's crazy. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, man, because I could talk about this another time. I remember playing outside with the Gen X kids. Yeah, the Gen X children, man, it was cool. Like I said, you had Gen X relatives. You know, matter of fact, Gen X had the cartoons us millennials grew up on thanks to Gen X. The cartoons we grew up on, you know, even though the Gen X children was like maybe older children when we was babies and toddlers in the 80s, like most of the Gen X children, they probably was like maybe 7 or 8 or 10 years old. Some of them probably was teenagers, you know, preteens. They had like their cartoons was like Thundercats, Transformers, G.I. Joe, because that was cartoons in the 80s, you know. So Gen X, man, us millennials, man, we caught the tail end of the Gen X cartoons, man. We grew up with the Gen X cartoons, like, you know. And then in the 90s, because Ninja Turtles, I think, was released in the 80s. The original Ninja Turtles cartoon, that was released in the 80s. I think 1988, if I recall. It definitely was an 80s cartoon. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoons that we watched in the 90s. Yeah, it was released in the 80s. But yeah, we had cool cartoons, man. Thanks to Gen X. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this stream up. If almost 7, I think they were like 10 or 11. Yeah, they had to be, you know, older children, right? But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this stream up, man. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to Chris G, man. Shout out to Naomi. Shout out to Rhonda. Who else came through? Shout out to that person. That Vampire Sock. Shout out to that person. You know, and shout out to anybody that watching the clouds. You know, make sure y'all hit the like button. And it don't cost to hit the like button. It don't cost. All you gotta do is hit the like button. It don't cost. And that's another thing. We gotta stop being fake on this social media stuff, man. If you go show your support by hitting the like button. I'm just speaking in general. You know, if you like somebody content, hit the like button. You know, help that channel grow. You know, help the channel grow. You know, help the channel grow. You know, because I really took a break from doing content. And what if I want to get back into doing content, you know, on certain things? Y'all want the content, let me know. Y'all gotta engage, you know. Y'all got to engage, you know. Let me know if y'all want more content, because I could be doing other stuff. I could be gaming right now. I could be playing Elder Scrolls Online right now, having fun playing Elder Scrolls Online, or I could be going somewhere, or I could be cooking me a meal. But yeah, I see I'm gonna hit y'all with a live stream today, you know. Thanks for the stream. You're welcome. No problem. No problem. But yeah, because man, doing this streaming content, man, that way your energy, that take your energy. I don't even real content, even the top dog content creators will tell you that, man, that takes a lot out of them. Even I'm talking about the top dog content creators that got like the YouTube recognition, got the plaques and all that. And just think about the people that's doing this for a full time. I can't imagine being a full-time YouTuber. I couldn't do it. That's why I tell people, man, keep your day job. Don't throw your day job away from this social media stuff. Don't do it, because you're gonna be making a fatal mistake. Made you some red beans and rice. Oh, that sounds good. Red beans and rice, that's good eating. That's good eating. Red beans and rice. You can't go no wrong with red beans and rice, bro. You can't go no wrong with that. Some good red beans and rice. Get some turkey sausages, chicken sausages, or beef sausages. No pork. I don't eat pork. Yeah, get you some beef sausages in there. Get the onions and bell peppers, saute that up. Get a couple of seasonings. Yeah. Matter of fact, I might go to the store later. I gotta get me some stuff. I might make me a fish coubillon. Not with catfish though. I'm gonna use something else. I'm probably use a different type of fish. I don't eat catfish. That's what I've been craving, a fish coubillon. All it is like, you know, smothered fish with tomato gravy, with onions, you know, and Cajun seasoning, with rice and corn. You know, you could cook with some corn on the side or any other vegetable with rice. Yeah, some good old rice. Yeah, so I might try to do that later, you know. Or I could do that tomorrow, but probably today. Go to the store and get the stuff. You know, I'm trying to debate what store I'm gonna go to, because sometimes I get tired going to Wilding World, man. I don't like, you know, especially the one. I like going to the neighborhood Walmart, but the parking lot is so small. I don't like the parking lot. Everything's so scrunched in. You know, and I definitely don't want to go to the damn big one in town because that's a ghetto ass Walmart. I'm gonna just call it spade a spade. That's a ghetto ass Walmart, man. The big Walmart in the city I live in, that shit ghetto. You know, and when I mean ghetto, man, and that's what people need to understand, man. They use the word ghetto, it goes for all race because ghetto is a type of energy, a mindset, it's a spirit, it's an energy. It has nothing to do with black people. And that's what pisses me off. When people bring up the word ghetto, they always want to point the finger at black people. Like they don't got ghetto white people, like they don't got ghetto Asian people. Man, all over the world they got ghettos. Even in the whitest of the white European country, they got ghettos. Russia got ghettos. Norway got ghettos. I'm talking about the European white, the white countries, they got ghettos, man. So miss me with that black people is ghetto bullshit. Because ghetto could be any damn being in the universe. If we had Martians living in the ghetto, there'd be ghetto, there'd probably be more ghetto than humans. If we had damn near non-human beings, you know, like the fantasy races living in the hood altogether, they're probably trying to out-hood the Negroes. If you had some damn dwarves and orcs, man, they're trying to outswag the Negroes, man, and orcs, the green skins, for real, for real. You will see these orcs wearing Jordans and jerseys, man, thinking that they played for those teams. Real talk. They showed you that in that movie Bright with Will Smith. That was a good movie. It's called Bright with Will Smith. When he played this cop, and his it was like a urban fantasy movie. He was a cop, and his partner was an orc. And they had the orcs all swagged out and they're acting like black people, man, or orcs, you know. So let me know if orcs was real, man. They hang out with blacks. They're trying to, you know, and black people, they want to have everybody to the cookout, man. Black people invite everybody to the cookout. They'll be inviting the orcs, the goblins, the dwarves, the elves to the cookout and shit. While the high elves don't want to be around nobody, because high elves, they look down on any damn race. They don't care if you're human. High elves, they look down on other elven races too. They show you that in the Elder Scrolls, the Elder Scrolls series. I'm just saying. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. You want some barbecue? That sounds good. It's been a while since I had me some barbecue, like some barbecue steaks, you know, wings, you know, beef ribs. Yeah, shit. Talking about food will make you hungry. I don't care who you is. You talk about food on any live stream, that's gonna make you hungry. Shucks. Yeah. But all right, go ahead and shut this stream down, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a blessed evening. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend, you know. And most high willing, I'll catch y'all on another stream. Who knows? I might go live again tonight, you know. All depends what the energy, what type of energy I have. Well, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Don't be strangers. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.